The drum sounds. 400 beats to close the city gates, then 600 more to lock every ward. 1,000 beats. In the world's largest city, 1 million people fall silent. The avenue's empty. The gates are barred. If you are on a main street when the last echo fades, you receive 20 strokes of the light cane. This is Chang'an, the Tang capital, in the year 700. The night does not fall here. It is enforced. You think of ancient nights as dark and quiet, lit only by stars and the occasional candle. The reality was stranger. The Chinese night was a fractured landscape. 1,000 drums, 1 million candles, all-night restaurants, secret gatherings, and an emperor locked out of his own city. It was shaped by law as much as by darkness, by the price of light as much as by the rhythm of sleep. And for one extraordinary dynasty, the night belonged not to the state, but to the market. What happened then would not be seen again anywhere on Earth for 600 years. Chang'an covered 84 square kilometers, divided into 108 walled wards, bisected by an avenue 150 meters wide. The Tang Code of 653 was precise. Anyone walking after the closing drum received 20 strokes. But the detail almost every account misses is that the curfew applied only to movement between wards. The law itself stated that walking within the ward was not punished. Inside Pingkong, the entertainment quarter, banquets continued through the night while Jinwu guards patrolled the avenues outside. The state controlled the streets. It never fully controlled what happened behind the walls. Nor was night a single legal concept. Tang law distinguished 3 kinds: natural night, statutory night measured by water clock, and curfew night defined by drum signals, and these did not coincide. The legal scholar Chen Chun-kyung has shown that the Tang created a distinct nocturnal jurisdiction with its own crimes and standard of evidence. The boundary was not darkness, it was sound. The system predated the Tang by over a millennium. The rights of Zhou described an officer called the Siwushi, whose duty was to prohibit night travelers. In 120 CE, a Han emperor declared that when the bell sounded and the water clock ran out, no traveler shall be in Luoyang. Even the emperor was not exempt. When Emperor Guangwu returned late from hunting, the gatekeeper Zhu Yun refused to open the gate, saying the firelight was too distant to identify the imperial party. The emperor had to enter through another gate. The next morning he rewarded Zhu Yun with 100 bolts of cloth and demoted the officer who had let him through. The curfew bound the Son of Heaven himself. But every system carries the seed of its own collapse. By the 830s, Chang'an ward gates were sometimes opened before the drums sounded. The poet Dumu received a letter delivered at midnight, an impossibility under strict enforcement, and then came the song. In 965, Emperor Taizu decreed that night markets in Kaifeng could remain open until the 3rd watch, around midnight. It was the first crack. By roughly 1050, the street drums had been abandoned entirely. A city of over 1 million people no longer had a bedtime. What followed was the first commercial nightlife in world history. The markets did not close. Meng Yuanlao, writing around 1147 in Dreams of Splendor of the Eastern Capital, recorded that night markets continued until the 3rd watch ended and reopened at the 5th dot around 4 in the morning. At the busiest entertainment compounds, activity ran uninterrupted through the night, even on stormy winter evenings. Prepared goose, duck, chicken, and eel at the Zhouqiao night market cost no more than 15 copper coins, about 1/10 of a day's wage. This was affordable street food for everyone, in the middle of the night. The Wazi were walled entertainment compounds containing multiple theaters called gulan. The largest held over 50 theaters, some seating thousands, the first mass entertainment industry on Earth, predating London's pleasure gardens by 6 centuries. The song also invented food delivery. Deliverymen wearing bronze guild badges carried food in double-walled warm plates filled with hot water. Even the emperor participated. Emperor Xiaozong, viewing lanterns one winter night, ordered street food and tipped double. Items worth 1 string rewarded with 2. The ruler of the largest empire on Earth ordered takeout. On Maxing Street, candles in shop light boxes burned from dusk, producing smoke so dense that, as a 12th century writer recorded, there were no mosquitoes there in midsummer. Patrol houses stood every 460 meters with brick watchtowers for fires. The city had invented nightlife and the infrastructure to keep it safe. None of it would have been possible without light, and light was a class marker as sharp as any robe. An oil lamp cost 4 or 5 copper coins per night. A single court-standard candle cost between 150 and 400 wene, 2 to 3 days' wages, making candlelight 10 to 20 times more expensive than oil. The Grand Counselor Ku Jun burned candles even in his bathroom. Successors found piles of wax on his latrine floors. The frugal official Du Yan received guests by a single dim oil lamp. The cost gap drove genuine innovation. Sichuan's Chongyao kilns produced the oil-saving lamp, a double-layered porcelain cup with a hollow water jacket filled with cold water each night, reducing evaporation by nearly half. The poet Lu Yu described it. Joseph Needham later called it a remarkable anticipation of the water jacket in modern chemical condensers. Candles were so prestigious that the Song Court created an honor almost unimaginable today, being escorted home from a nighttime imperial audience by palace golden lotus candles. In 3 centuries, only 10 officials received it. One was Su Shi. Yet here is the twist. The same civilization that lit Maxing Street with candlelight would eventually forget how to keep the dark away. The Qing dynasty reimposed strict curfews with 30,000 patrolmen and wooden tally systems around the palace walls, and the Forbidden City itself had no street lamps at all until 1888, when Li Hongzhang presented electric lights to the Empress Dowager Cixi. 800 years after song shopkeepers had illuminated their streets with wax, the most powerful woman in the world lived in darker surroundings than they had. The night did not progress in a straight line. It moved backwards. The night was a legal world of its own. Tang law permitted a householder to kill a nighttime intruder on the spot, a principle stretching back to Han frontier bamboo slips, where officials were forbidden from entering lodgings after dark to make arrests. Darkness and sedition were inseparable. Tang law banned overnight Buddhist vegetarian gatherings as Maitreya millenarian breeding grounds, classifying participants alongside the 10 abominations. Meeting after dark was itself evidence of intent. The Chinese measured the dark with precision. The 5-watch system divided the night into 5 periods of roughly 2 hours and 24 minutes each. In the Ming Palace, 400 soldiers per shift passed 41 copper bells hand to hand through the night, as proof the perimeter was awake. How people slept remains open. The historian A. Roger Ekirch has documented over 500 European references to a segmented first and second sleep. Chinese sources have no equivalent. The proverb says, eating ginseng is not as good as sleeping through the 5 watches. Yet Li Bai woke to mistake moonlight for frost, and Su Shi drank through the night until dawn. Chinese writers never named 2 sleeps, but they knew what it was to lie awake at 3 in the morning. The drum sounds. 1,000 beats. A city falls silent. But the silence never held. Behind the ward walls, a poet composed by candlelight. In a Gulan theater, thousands laughed through the small hours. A deliveryman carried a warm plate through smoke-thick streets. A monk lay down when the evening drum sounded at 9. A secret society member gathered with co-religionists after dark, risking strangulation. The emperor ordered takeout. The night the drums tried to control was always larger than the drums themselves. And the night they built, the all-night restaurants, the street food, the delivery, the entertainment that never closed, is the night you live in now. Every meal delivered to a door after midnight, every city that never sleeps, every light left burning when the world has gone to bed, is an echo of a revolution that began when the drums stopped. The first true night in human history was not lit by electricity. It was lit by oil and wax in the streets of Kaifeng almost 1,000 years ago. The drums sound still, if you listen. But it no longer tells you to go home. It tells you the market is open.